What's so funny, TSM?
I've been raising awareness, protecting the kids. Homie, you know what it is. It's college protecting against a disaster. In case a disaster come here, that's what I said. In case you ain't here, get the blessing all these children. Against violence and disaster, we protecting all these children. We are the children protection. We are the world's protection. We are the children protection. We are the world's projection. We are the children protection. We are the world's projection. We are the children protection. We are the world's projection.
You already know what it is, man. You got the exclusive right here. Rick Hard. We being hard, nigga. Yeah.
That's right, that's right. Get your custom-made beats today. AJ got slaps, slap house, custom-made beats, all day, every day. Holla at Rick Hard, holla at Hot West Radio. Yeah, it's going.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your girl. Together we break change / 2 chains / a broken chain. So it doesn't matter what name you guys call me, as long as it's not a bad name. Just kidding. Anyway, you guys, your girl is under the weather. I don't know what's in the air today, but it got my allergies and my sinuses. So if I sneeze or sound like I'm sniffling and all that good old stuff, yes, I am. You guys, just when we thought the world couldn't get any weirder, I came across this story on my phone. I am so sick and tired of the dumb stuff and the laws that people are allowing to be passed. I keep telling people, pay attention to what's going on in your state, in your community, and across this globe, because they throw tragic moments in our face and they keep it playing back to back to back, thinking that we're going to get new information. They hold that information until they end up passing a law that they want to pass, okay, or a bill, okay, or they come up with a verdict that we did not think was fair. People, I'm telling you, you need to start paying attention to what's going on. Everybody's mind is so boggled down with what's going on, okay? So I'm going to say this. There are too many homeless people out here in these American streets. There are too many American people that are being denied access to any type of assistance. And I don't understand, and I'm not coming down on anybody. I'm just speaking. Why is it that people that could come from another country will benefit over the people that don't have another country to go back to or to go to, period? You know, these people can get whopping loans and they can default on those loans and take off to their country and will never be heard from again. And guess what? Somehow, some way, the American people that are taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill for all these people. You have people that are living in nice houses, apartments, condos, whatever, driving the nicest of cars, and they're getting cash benefits, they're getting food stamps, they're getting medical, they're getting everything, and they have never put one hot penny into our economy to help boost it. Buying food and all that good old stuff, that's different. You know, when you don't get the assistance, that's nothing. You know, everybody, whether you are on food stamps or not, you're going to pay taxes for anything that you buy outside of food stamps. So everybody pays taxes. But I'm talking about something different here. You know, everybody get all these benefits and American people are stuck. And a lot of people are afraid to speak up, but this is a country where you are supposed to be free to say something, as long as it's not hurting the other person. And it's not spreading misinformation. It's not bullying anyone, because that is not what this channel is based on. I'm not going to bully you. If you don't believe anything that I say, you have every single right not to believe one word that I say. That is your given right. But what we're not going to do is argue and go back and forth about it. If I say something and you don't agree, and I try my best and I say, okay, well, look at it this way, and you still refuse, I have to respect that that's your belief. I'm not going to keep going at you. I'm not going to call you stupid. I'm not going to do any of that, because what you believe is what you believe. You have that right. And that's the thing that is bothering me with today's society, is that people don't want to pick up books. People don't want to read. They want to listen to what somebody else said, and it could be the wrong thing that has been said. There are plenty of times that people have said things to me, and when I sat down and I read it for myself, I found out that they were 100% wrong. But that's another story. And I always try to say something before, in between, and after each story. So I want to give a special shout out to JB's the poet. He comes on in the morning time, you guys. I think you guys need to really check this gentleman out, because he is reading the word of God, and a lot of the questions and the things that he's reading is causing you to think, to use your own thoughts in your brain, instead of him trying to force you to believe something. He's not that kind of person. So you guys go over there and support his channel, okay? He has a small following, but you guys, we want to get JB's poet up there, and I'm gonna try to include a video in this this stream, okay? So I want to get to this story that blew my mind, you guys. Literally, it blew my mind. You know what I'm saying? And I don't understand why people are not paying attention to the things that are taking place right now. And this is California. In California, parents may soon effectively lose custody of their kids 12 years old and older. And when I show the article, I always want people to see where the credit goes to, who the actual writer of this story is, because I don't like taking credit for nobody's stuff. And a lot of times when I read these stories, sometimes, like I read a story out of a news article, I got hit with harassment and bullying. But how can I be harassing and bullying when it's literally a story that came out of a reputable, I'm trying to say the word, news article, okay? So let me get back to this. It says, in California, stranger danger may be about to acquire a whole new meaning, y'all. And I know some people may read ahead of me. Forget warning kids. It's the parent in California who will need to be terrified of strangers if a new bill passes. Snuck into AB665 legislation. I don't know how to say this word. Ostensibly, I don't know how to say it. So some of you guys may want to help me. About extending mental health care to lower income California youth is a provision that effectively would terminate parents' rights over their kids as soon as they turn 12 years old. That I just don't get it. Is it just all kids, or is it the kids that are so messed up with the mental illness that they're uncontrollable? So they have to really break that down to me. So, I'm sorry, you guys. Like I said, I'm under the weather. Okay, the California Family Council warns that this bill would allow children as young as 12 years old to consent to being placed into state-funded group homes without parental permission or knowledge. So this means that your kid can be at school, with their mental disability, and they tell the school, I don't want to go home. And so they give them a paper. They're not an adult. So why should that be legal? How can that be legal if a kid is 12 years old? You're not even allowed to enter into any type of contract unless you are over the age of 18 to 21. You're not allowed to. Contracts are null and void if you are under the age of 18, from my understanding. So how is this that they can push this bill? Okay, as long as a mental health professional signs off on it, the kid can go to such a group home. Okay, and it does not matter what their parents think. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous, you guys. Because like I said, when you're dealing with kids with mental illnesses, one moment they can be in their in the moment of their mental illness, and they will make a irrational decision, and then once they come out of it, they're like, I want to go home. But I don't think that these people should have power over parents like that. What is it with the world trying to destroy children? Because once you destroy the children, there's going to be no more humans. There's going to be nobody else to procreate. So I don't think that they're thinking these things through. You know, we got the LBG, we got the trans, gender. They're going after the kids at a young age. So if you turn all the little girls into boys and the boys into girls, how are you going to procreate? So what you're saying is you're going to use some kind of incubator system to bring forth children, in place of women. That doesn't make sense to me. So the incubator is going to be this is going to be something different, you guys. I'm telling you, it's leading to a very, very strange place. That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's why I'm saying all these people that are not paying close attention to the stuff that's going on, you are being misled and you are being tricked. And when you finally open your eyes, it is probably going to be too late to reverse what has already taken place. Okay, so let me finish. This bill gives a stranger, a school psychologist, power to decide whether a 6th or 7th grader comes home from school that day. And that's terrifying. Erin Friday, a California mom of 2 teens, tells the Daily Signal. That is very terrifying. Instead of us being on YouTube going through doxing wars, and we're on Snapchat and Instagram trying to twerk, shake our butts and see who can get the next bag and how we could do this and how we could do that. We need to be paying attention to all these laws and stuff that are trying to be passed. The one thing they did was create social media to keep you from paying attention to what's going on around you. And a lot of people are totally shocked when they come back from it. And they find out, oh my God. And then when you trace back, how did this happen? You were on Facebook, you were on Twitter, you were on Instagram, you were on TikTok, you were on Snapchat, you were on, what's that, what is it called? Members only and all that good old stuff. Y'all was over there not paying attention. And these things were being passed right before your very eyes. But because you were so entwined in becoming popular, getting your numbers up, making money off of social media, these things were being passed right before your eyes and you never seen it coming. Why do you think so many crazy things are going on right now? It's because they kept us and they keep us distracted. So let me finish. AB665. Okay, somewhere I missed the ball. I'm sorry. Okay, this bill is essentially stating that parents are criminals that have to prove their innocence to get their child back. asked Friday, who is a leader of the parent advocacy group Our Duty. Seriously? AB665, which passed out the Assembly Judiciary Committee last week, bills on the 2010 measures signed into law by then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Republican. That law, the Mental Health Services for At-Risk Youth Act, allowed California children 12 and under to receive mental health care without their parents' knowledge if a mental health provider determines it was best not to involve the parents. See, that right there is not cool, because if a parent is in denial, why not create such a class or a type of counseling that can allow the parent to understand and to see what the child is going through. You do have those parents that are in denial. Not my child, but that's where you educate them. That's where you teach them. That's where you let them know what's going on. It's almost equivalent, and I'm not saying this is it, but if a young girl goes to a person that they trust in the family and say, your boyfriend touched me inappropriately, and you know that you could trust that family member, and that family member comes and say, look, we need to talk, you're going to probably be in denial first, and then as questions start taking place, you're going to start seeing that things add up and they line up. And then you will no longer be in denial. But some parents don't want to listen. So, that's why they need to provide classes instead of, the first thing you want to do is snatch somebody's child out the house. And it's crazy because a lot of children have been snatched out of houses through to CPS, and they were placed in foster care, and the parent may have had a mental illness, but that parent never display any physical violence, verbal violence, but that parent was a loving parent and treated that kid good. But because you felt like they had a mental illness, they were not worthy of being a parent. So you put that kid that was in a loving home into a home where a person is just in it for the money. And then you have that person that may have a teen son that may decide that, oh, I could do what I want with her daughter, I don't care. Or I could do what I want with her son, I don't care. And everybody tries to keep it hush-hush. There are some serious horror stories that is involved when it comes to CPS. And this is going to lead to children being placed in a CPS type of situation like youth homes, where you have staff members that may have, a secret, liking for children, and they'll do whatever they want to do and get away with it, and then keep that child medicated so that child won't tell what's going on. Okay, so there are some really bad downsides to this whole situation, especially when it comes to somebody taking your kids out of your home and you've done absolutely nothing to them, or you tricked that kid into saying, I want to leave home because you use the friendship approach, oh, you could trust me, and you get these kids to say, well, if you don't say that your parents are hitting you, then you're not going to go home. So the kids say, yeah, my mom is hitting me, can I go home now? And you say no. All of a sudden the case starts. So these are a lot of things that happens, a lot of dirty tricks in this whole arena. So okay, so that provision was no accident. The Center of American Process, I'm telling you guys, I'm not feeling well, but I need to do this. The Center for American Progress, a liberal think tank, celebrated the California law in 2010. In a 2010 report as a useful model for state or federal legislation to address mental illness amongst the LBGT youth. So you even got children that's a part of the LBGT community with mental illnesses, and they're taking these kids out. That's not fair. That's not fair. Uh, and like they said, the LBGT youth are likely to avoid using public mental health services if they believe that doing so will cause them to have to reveal their sexual status, LBG status, to their parents or peers. The Center for American Progress Report said. So you got kids that, like I said, you got parents that are in denial, and it's just the way that you want to, talk to the parent. You want to ease that kind of stuff on a parent, because some people just outright bluntly, your son is a gay male, and you take the parent by surprise. What you want to do is you want to counsel the parent, and you want to talk to the parent, and you want to lead the parent up to say, look, your son has experienced some things, and he didn't feel as though he had, he couldn't talk to you, but he felt like he could talk to somebody on the outside. Maybe, mom, you're not approachable, and so this kid goes to someone they feel they could trust, and then you go and you say, I don't know if you're aware, and you sit there with the parent and you counsel that parent and you help them work through those emotions. Because you go off and tell a parent and she think her son playing basketball, football, and all these girls around him, and you go, oh, guess what, your son like boys, and then you walk away. That's not fair. How is that person supposed to process it? At that point, counseling needs to be set up for the parent, because that's a shock. That's a shock to know, because something happened to trigger this child to decide to be with the same person. Whether y'all say, oh, they was born that way, or whatever your reasoning is, I think that you need to sit and counsel with the parent and see how that parent is doing. And the parent says, okay, you know what? Okay, now we can work through these things, because you have counseling available and you're not looking for anything to use against the parent, but you let them go into counseling as long as needed so that they can work together as a family unit. But you have these people that go to school and they want to come out of school and they want to start ruining people's lives because maybe their stuff is not together. You get what I'm saying? So let me finish. That same report also made the case that mental health services were vital for suicide prevention for LGBT youth. Okay, providing LGBT adolescents with access to mental health services is essential to helping them cope with the extreme pressure that they have led many of them. Pressures that have led many of them to consider suicide. You got, like I said, your girl is under the weather, but I care so much, I want to get this out. But the data suggests that California Mental Health Services for At-Risk Youth Act hasn't had the effect it boosters hope for. Hope for. In 2010, the year the legislation passed, 92 minors in California committed suicide, according to the data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Nor was 2010 a outliner. Looking at the 2000 through 2010, an average of 82 minors a year committed suicide. From 2011 to 2020, the last year for which data was available, 106 minors a year on average committed suicide in California. Okay, so much for the success of the 2010 law. Wow. But if you are removing these kids, and let's say that a kid comes to their parent and say, you know what, I am gay, or I am a lesbian, or whatever labels they call themselves, and the parent is like, okay, let's work through this. And you have a parent that's cooperating. Sometimes going into counseling, they can cause separation. It depends on the counselor that you use, because some of these people, even with the doctors and the counselors, some of these people are home wreckers. They have went to school and got licenses to destroy families, maybe because they did not have a good family and they have a vendetta against the world. Oh, well, I'm gonna ruin this family. It seems like a lot of these people that work in these fields do have a grudge against the world. If you find out that a child has an extremely loving parent, you want to ruin that child's life because you are carrying some kind of bitterness from your past. And a recent story that I saw, the reason why I say that is a Texas family. You know, I'm going to read on that story. They went and they gave birth at home. They had a midwife, and the child had what they call jaundice. And it was a little elevated, but it wasn't elevated enough for the child to be considered in a life-threatening mode, because they said that that level, children normally grow out of that level and end up, you know, doing better as time goes on. So this doctor wanted to admit the child, and she said, well, I'm going to listen to my midwife because that's the person that has been helping me. So this doctor ended up calling the CPS, and CPS came in and took the child from the home. And they had a warrant, but the wife called the husband and said, hey, the police are here. He walked back to go see what was going on. They went inside his pockets because he wouldn't let them, she wouldn't let them in the house. They went in his pockets, took his house keys out of his pocket, and opened his front door and took the child. That is against the law. You had a warrant for that house. He was not in the house. You did not have a warrant for the individual person. So you went in this man's pocket and violated his rights. And I think that police officer should be jailed and fired and never have to the pleasure of working in the police department ever again. You know, they said there was a warrant for that address. Now, he was on the outside of that address, approaching that address. You had no right to go in his pocket, take his keys out of his pocket, and enter his home. You could have done something different and told her, look, I have a warrant to come in, and if you don't come out, I'm going to have to arrest you. You're making it far worse. But you turned around and violated his civil rights. You had no jurisdiction to do that. And a lot of times these police officers in these courts, they want to cover it up because they don't want to get sued. That was out of line. You have a right to your person. No police officer has a right to search you if you have not committed a crime. He didn't commit a crime. He wasn't home. When he walked up, they should have told him, you know what, I need you to open the door. I have a warrant. Show me the warrant. Don't just tell me you have a warrant. And then what was so crazy was after they took the child out of her arms, then they gave her the warrant. No, show me the warrant first. Now, once you show me that warrant, I'm like, okay, you got a warrant. I got to follow procedure. I got to follow the directions because you showed me. You don't hold the warrant hostage and then at the last minute throw it in my face like a ha-ha. No, you were wrong. That was backwards. In any court or anybody that is on the jury stand, if they take it to trial, should say, you know what, we disagree. You were supposed to show the warrant prior, because people that sit here and talk stupid and say, well, she should have just this and she should have that. First of all, if that was you or your daughter or your son, your words would be very different. If it was you would have been like, you know what? That was my daughter and they should have showed the warrant first instead of holding the warrant and then throwing it on her at the end. I don't know if they threw it on her. I'm just saying, paraphrasing. But if you become that person and you have to be in those person's shoes, then you would definitely have to think differently. A lot of times people talk out the side of their neck because they're not the ones that's literally going through that situation. So until you are going through that situation, you need to keep your opinions and your thoughts to yourself and stop trying to be so super smart and so judgmental. But back to this story. This is so insane, you guys. So yet, instead of re-examining and reaffirming the old law, which did allow 12-year-olds to access psychological care without parental permission or knowledge, but not residential services, California legislators are now seriously considering expanding the 2010 law and allowing 12-year-olds to go to residential treatments without parents' permission. Now, if the child is at home being mistreated by the family, I agree. If there is like strong evidence of abuse, not alleged evidence, not the kid was playing and hurt themselves and they got a bruise. I'm talking about this kid got whips across their back. They got old trauma wounds that that was created by abuse. Those are the times that I can agree that a child should be able to go to someone without the parent knowing. Those are the times that I agree where the child should be able to be signed out of that home because there is physical adult activity with a child, type of abuse. You know what I'm saying? So those are the times that I can agree. Not because the child has a mental illness, as I said before, because when people are having episodes, they are hallucinating, going through depression, they're going through their mental illness, and so they will say anything. And then once they come down, they get medication compliant, meaning they're complying with their medication treatment plan. Once they become medication compliant, then it'll be a whole story. That child gets medicated and be like, I want to go home. But you said this, and because you said this without having the appropriate medication in your system, now you're trapped into a system. So I think that any 12-year-old, anybody under the age of 18 should not be able to sign any type of contract. No therapist or doctor or anybody should be able to pull a child out of their home unless there is actual evidence, like I said before, of abuse in any manner. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about. And if you are a clinical psychologist, you should know some of the symptoms when a child is going through I'm trying to think of the word. There are so many words we used in the Department of Mental Health when the child is actually having a psychotic episode. You should be able to tell that, okay, this child is in a psychotic episode. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna say something like this one girl, like there was a bus driver for this place. It was an outpatient mental health service, and the bus driver would pick the children up from school. So the bus driver recognized that one of the kids, was having a episode, even though this person wasn't trained. So the bus driver actually called and was speaking to someone from dispatch. So when dispatch got there, they all gathered around. This individual, he got off the bus and left the child on the bus alone with the doors and windows open because he was a male and it was a female. He did not want to stay. When he was talking to her, he was talking to her from the front of the bus and she was sitting in the very back. He never approached her. So once he found out she was in an episode, he got off the bus, got on the phone, called, his boss, and everybody came over. And the little girl, when, the people came, like we call it the pet team. The pet team came. She told the pet team that this guy assaulted her. And they knew that this girl had a habit of claiming that, male bus drivers, teachers, doctors, whatever, would assault her, sexually. I'm going to say it, sexually. And so they end up firing the guy. And because they were a nonprofit, he wasn't able to sue. But she almost ruined his reputation until the therapist and the psychiatrist went back in the files and said, you know what, she has a habit of claiming that a male sexually assaulted her. This was a part of her mental illness. This was a part of her going through her traumatic episode. Every time something happened with her, they later found out when she went through her episode, she would relive the day that she was assaulted by her mom's, ex. So she would say that somebody was always doing something to her. And so this dude was fired unjustly. And I was like, there's no way that this guy should have been fired. They should have been able to sue because that little girl lied. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. The little girl kept reliving her traumatic situation whenever she was non-med compliant or having an episode, a manic or a mental health crisis. So this is what I'm saying when it comes to this story. A kid could be in a mental health crisis and say whatever because they're not taking their medication, or maybe the new medication is not working for them, and so it's giving them worse side effects. Okay, so I hope that you guys are like comprehending what I'm saying, because I don't want to confuse anyone. Okay, so of course that's an outrageous slap in the face to parents' rights, which is true. But it's also unlikely to help the kids who are troubled and seeking treatment. Pamela Garfield Jaeger, yes, I think I said it right, a licensed clinical social worker since 1999, wrote on her Substack, in my experience working with youth in a school setting without parental involvement was ineffective. It was when the parents gave input, shared their point of view, and communicated with their teen that the real healing began. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to pull the parent out, because you get the government involved, and once this child becomes an adult, then they're going to become an adult with far more issues, when you could have spoken to the parents that were receptive to the help, to the treatment, to the plan, the mental health plan and treatment for their child. Garfield Jaeger, who also testified against the new California bill, also warned about the dangers of placing minors in new residents, because sometimes when you take those kids and you put them in new environments, they become more aggressive and they become out of control, and sometimes those places don't treat them and give them their medication. They don't treat those kids and take the time with them, because there's so many kids that are coming through. They don't have time to do that, one-on-one. Sometimes, like the social worker that I met, she had 300 children to her one person. She had so many kids, it was hard for her to keep up with, until she kept begging and begging and begging and begging at every meeting for her to get at least 3 people to help. So they cut it down, 100 children per person. So then they were like, we need to get more people. We need to get more people. And so they started chopping down the number of children, the amount of children that were assigned to each person, which I think was better, because those children that she had, when she had 300 children, a lot of those kids got missed, and it wasn't purposely, because some of the kids that she had required more attention than some of the others. So somebody gets left out, the ball gets dropped, and then the parent gets upset, not understanding, until you get communication to say, hey, you know what, I have a caseload of 300 and I'm doing my best in order to reach your child, but some of the children that I have require far more of my attention, and I'm sorry, I apologize. So that could be a problem as well. Let me finish this. It says, I worked in a group home. I know what they are really like, and they are far from ideal. I know that. The social worker said in her testimony, residential facilities lead kids to adapt new harmful habits such as drug use, self-harm, and violent behaviors, just as I said. My brother actually works in a group home, and he doesn't discuss what goes on because of confidentiality, but I know other people that work in group homes, and they were telling me some of the horror stories with these kids in the group homes, that these kids are fighting, they're stealing. One girl attacked the worker in the group home. Somehow she snatched her hair so hard that it did something to the worker's neck, and the worker had to go and have emergency medical care. They never disclosed everything that happened with her, but from that day on, she was never the same. I had a person that literally attacked me, kicked me so hard and shattered my entire knee. And I mean shattered, okay? There have been people that came in with predatory behaviors. When you put some of those kids with other kids that are vulnerable, the predators will take advantage of the ones that are weaker than them, and they will get away with it because they'll use, oh, my mental illness, I wasn't taking my medication. And I think that people that have mental illnesses that create problems and that cause traumas to the world, I think they should go to jail, just like the person that does not have the mental illness. You understand what I'm saying? They need to go to jail. And if you have a child that has violent behaviors in a residential home, you need to remove that child and put them in a more intensive type of program, so that you can get to the root of why they have a violent, behavior. It's just a lot that goes on in these programs, and they're trying to put kids in situations where these kids will be damaged, and they'll be damaged grown-ups, which I don't understand. So youth residential facilities are usually unlocked, and many kids run away into the hands of sex traffickers, she added. And that's very true, because right now there are over 500,000+ kids missing from residential homes, foster homes, and all these different places that are unlocked, okay? Why are California lawmakers trying to make it easier for kids to face such horrid fates? The unspoken reason seems likely. The unspoken reason seems likely here. California lawmakers know that plenty of parents have concerns about minors who pursue gender transition. These are valid concerns. Gender transition medical procedures, even for minors, can be extensive, and some of it is irreversible. And so that speaks to another situation where you have on YouTube, you have all these people that are coming out now, and they're speaking on how they were being coaxed into changing their gender. They felt special. They felt, like everything was good for them, And so now, you have these people saying, don't fall for it. These are people that actually transitioned, that went through the whole process. They are telling people, do not do this. Don't do it. Go get some counseling, find out why, and they're speaking and saying their family members, their mom, their dad, they want popularity. So, they want to use their children for the popularity, and a lot of people are speculating that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union is doing the same thing to Dwayne Wade's child, and I think that is really sad that this woman can push, his child. But I have a question for her. If your daughter, your only child, was to come to you, Gabrielle, and say, I want to be a man, I wonder what that conversation would be like off record. I wonder, without anybody knowing and in any recording, what your conversation would be like. You might be like, hell nah. No, you not. No. That ain't, no, you not doing that. We don't know when it comes to your children, the people that come into your life. We don't know what they're capable of doing. They won't treat their kid horrible, but they'll treat your kid horrible. People, you need to be careful. And I don't know Gabrielle Union personally, but I really would not. I don't think in 100 years that she would accept the fact that if her daughter came to tell her, if there was not money involved, that I want to transition into a boy. I don't think that she would allow that to happen, being that that is her only child right now. So you gotta wonder. Not only that, Jazz, that TV show Jazz, this child, I don't know, but I was shocked when I looked at the clipping where the mother asked the child, Jazz, did you use the dilator? And that's the tool that they use to keep their surgical vajayjay open. And Jazz stated, no, I don't feel like doing it. And the mother had a conversation with her friend saying, if she don't do it, then I'm going to go up there and do it myself. Right there, they should have stopped the filming and they should have called authorities, because that is sexual assault. You're going to personally insert isn't that called sodomy? You're going to force an object into a child's private area when they said they don't feel like doing it. And then you turn around and say, if she don't do it, if she let it close up, I'll kill her. That was a threat. Now you should be in jail for terrorist threat. You threaten abuse on your child. And now, allegedly, Jazz is dating a girl, which is the natural form and the natural desire of a man, to desire being with a woman. So all this was done in vain. And I believe a lot of this was done so that the mother could get popularity. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I think they need to do more background check with the kids. Have those kids, excuse the paramedics are coming through. When these kids are saying at a very young age, I want to do this and I want to do that, it could be one or two things. One, there could be some type of abuse where they came in contact with an adult and had adult activities together, or the parent is pushing this because they feel like there's some popularity to gain in this situation. So these are my only two thoughts. And if this is true that this child really feels that way, then that's something else that we would have to deal with when there's further studies. But for now, I don't understand why you would want to do this to your child, because think about it. There's a person, they said you could say they're a gentleman, and I don't know the name. This guy is 60 years old, and he went through the whole transformation, and he's been screaming out for years, don't do this because you're going to regret it. There are so many people going to legislator asking them not to allow the parents to coach their kids, but the few that they're promoting that's being super loud are getting all the attention. But you have a greater number that is totally against, kids transitioning. And I don't think that any child should transition or take any type of steroid or hormone treatment until they hit the age of 18. And that way they're an adult. They can make their own decision without being coached into it, so that their family can get financial wealth and gain from it. And I believe a lot of these transgenders that want to keep their male parts, I think a lot of it has to do with them wanting to be in the same room and lust with the eyes over female bodies. This is a way that they can get away with, feeding their perverted desires. I really believe that, because if you truly within your heart felt like you were a lady, you would go ahead and you would do the transitioning as an adult. It would not be anything to stop you. You would be doing the medication. You would be doing everything. You would be so disgusted with that male part on your body, you would want to get rid of it to fulfill what your desire was, or what you say you were. Female, no real woman would want to walk around with a penis. No real woman. If she was born a hermaphrodite and she identified more as a female, then she would get rid of that male penis, unless she was into porn or some type of perverted type of deal. So I'm kind of not buying these guys that are saying they're women, but they refuse to get rid of the penis. Just like the transgender that went into the jail, a male, and he was rocking everybody's boat in there, and a bunch of these inmates and probably a prison guard was pregnant. Come on now. You can't tell me that you a transgender and you in there sticking women. You're doing sexual activities with women. I think a lot of this stuff needs to be checked out. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this. I'm just giving my point of view. Like I said, this is not to bully anybody. This is not to target. This is not to cause confusion. This is not to cause violence or anything like that. This is just my opinion, and I should be able to speak my opinion as long as I'm not hurting anyone or causing anyone any pain. But let me finish. The growing detransitioner movement highlights how some people receive transgender treatment and then have regrets. See, that's what I was talking about. I didn't even pay attention to that part. I just started talking. Wow. See, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube where they're talking about it. Okay, I shouldn't have been allowed to go through this. Chloe Cole, a detransitioner who regretted her gender transition after having breast removal surgery at 16, told the Daily Signal Post in January. But California lawmakers don't want parents to be able to stand in the way of their minor children making these life-changing decisions. It is apparent that one result of this bill would be the removal of trans-identified children from the family home. Garfield Jager said in her testimony, in the dystopian nightmare we are in, if a parent doesn't use the child's chosen pronoun or name, they are labeled dangerous. In an interview with Fox News Friday, referred to this legislation as state-sanctioned kidnapping. She's right, and it's terrifying that California lawmakers are considering legalizing, not penalizing kidnapping. And this is so sad, you guys. So like I said, all those people, out here, we have to pray for these kids. We definitely have to pray for these kids because there is an all-out attack on children. You know what I'm saying? And I have made a comment, and there was a person, a part of the LGBTQ community, and they basically told me I was 100% correct. And when I say the LBG, they were transgender, and they told me I was 1000% correct. And they were like, I don't like how when people like you speak with care and you speak to us and you're not being judgmental, but you're making us think. You have those that are so bitter and so angry because they don't know who they are. They get mad at you and want to report your video and say you're doing hate speech. Let me tell you something. Ain't nothing hateful about me. If you want to be a transgender, that is your business. I don't have nothing to do with it. I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you and look at you crazy, but I'm going to ask you why. I have a right to ask questions because I'm a curious person. Why did you do that? What was the cause? How do you feel? What do you see for yourself in the future? What happens if you decide that you don't want to be this anymore, this gender anymore? What are you going to do? I love to ask questions because you can't get any information if you're not asking questions. If you're judging people, you're missing the opportunity to ask questions. Just like I asked my uncle, what caused you to like men? Can you enlighten me? And the only thing that he told me was that he was molested when he was younger by a same-sex person. And it kept happening, and the usual threats that they throw at you, if you say anything, this, and the third is going to happen. So he ended up getting used to, being with another male. And so I said, okay, but one thing he said to me, out of everybody, you never judged me, and you never looked at me and said, you're going to hell, because I don't have a heaven or a hell to put you in, so that's, my take on it. But I'm just curious as to what's going to happen when you decide. Well, no, let me tell you what I said to this person. So I said, if something happens to you tragically, and like we be looking at these murder mysteries and they be finding bones of people in, shallow graves or whatnot, right? And I said, and you physically, from the outer appearance, have done all this cosmetic work. You got the breast, the booty, you got a vajayjay created, you got all this stuff done, right? And they were like, yes. I said, okay, when you deteriorate flesh-wise, I said, I'm speaking only flesh-wise, okay? They said, yes. I said, when they look at the bone structure, they're going to say, you were a male when they discover your bone, your skeletal remains. So the outer flesh, you are a female, living as a female, okay? But when something happens and they find your skeletal remains, they're going to identify your skeletal remains as a male until they do the paperwork and find out that you transitioned into a female. And they were like blown away because they said, I never freaking thought of that. I say, even if you are taking hormone treatments, your bone structure is still going to be the same. It's not going to change your bone structure. But what is going to change is your muscle mass and the flesh that's wrapped around those bones. But it's not going to change your bone structure. It's not going to do anything to your skeletal. And they were like, wow, that's crazy. I said, and they spent all this time and money saying that you could transition, but you can never do anything unless you're going to go through bone surgery and have your bones chopped up and beat up and pushed around, which is very dangerous. Because if you try to form your bones in a woman's body structure, something could go wrong. And then you won't be here. But that was the question, and the not the question, but that was what my conversation that I had with a transgender person, and they were like, damn, you gave me a lot to think about. So I'm saying that to any person that is transitioning, think about that. On the outward, you spent all this money and did all these things, and maybe there is some confusion there. I don't know, because I'm not in your head. But think about what I said. But I say it in love. And anybody that is going through and not sure, have a mental illness of any kind, I really pray that, you find peace wherever your peace may be found. With that being said, you guys, don't forget to hit that like button, that post notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And again, if anybody was offended by my video, it was never my intention. It was never for me to insult you or to hurt your feelings, because I'm not that kind of person. So please accept my apology if you felt offended in any way, okay? And I say it from the heart. So with that being said, you guys, please love and take care of one another. Stay positive, you guys, because guess what? We're all beautiful. And with that being said, oh, my allergies is tearing me up, you guys.